Okay, good morning. Just saw something remarkable which I want to share with you. I didn't print it in and I didn't put it into the sheets, but I just want to share this with you. The son of the Rambam, Rav Avram ben Rambam, wrote a number of very interesting and important svarim. One of them is a sefer called Sefer HaMaspik Lo'evei Hashem, and in it he writes the following idea. I'll just share the idea with you very quickly, and just for you, just relevant to what we've been learning and important generally. He says, what would be if theoretically HaKadosh Baruch Hu would come to us, to you, to me, or to us nationally, and would say, if you keep my mitzvahs, I will punish you. If you don't keep my mitzvahs, or if you eat chazer, I will reward you. Nothing else changes. Nothing else changes. What should be our response? He says it's... Sorry?
Is it still the will of God?
It's still a mitzvah. I was very careful in what I said. I used my language very carefully. They are still mitzvahs. The answer is, we'd still have to do the mitzvahs and get punished. That's what mitzvah means, yeah? Says it on the tin. A commandment.
Would the mitzvah be worth more or less?
That's a gute Frage. I mean, we can speculate on many aspects of this, and I'm not going to turn this into an entire share. But it's a fascinating. I just wanted to share it, and you can ruminate on it in your own time. Anyway, let's go back to what we finished with yesterday. No, let's just do a Malbim. Malbim is source 8 here. We didn't do this yet. Okay, and Avi asked me yesterday to see whether perhaps at the end of the shir every weekday we could do some sort of quick summary, which I think is so that for your notes, so you can walk away and you know what we've done. Plenary, good idea. Thank you. Bli neder. Remind me 5 minutes before the end. Okay, says the Malbim. Vayered Hashem be'onon. 8. Vayered Hashem be'onon. Hinei Hashem Omar Loi. This is the famous incident where Moshe Rabbeinu asks HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hareini noes kvodecha, and he puts him Benikras Hatzur, and he sees, so to speak, the back of Hashem, etc. You don't.
It's okay. I'm saying the Rabbeinu.
Okay. Spare one. Yeah, here you go.
But it doesn't matter.
Alles good. Okay. Hine Hashem Omar Lo Yoshmarti v'samticha Benikras Hatzur v'sakoisi kapi olecha ad avri. Says the Malbim. Shekva be'arti shenikras hatzur. What is this nikras hatzur? The cleft of English, sagt man, sort of the cleft of the rock. Listen to the Malbim. He says, Hu chalal hatzimtzum. This refers to the void, the so-called space, which isn't a space, that is vacated by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to create the world. That's what it's referring to. It's fascinating. Shehu ha'ma'ora she'omad boi Moshe. The Ma'ara, the cave that Moshe was standing in, is, so to speak, the Chalal HaTzimtzum. Shahaya Moshel El Nikras Hatzor. It wasn't actually. It was a Moshel El Nikras Hatzor. Shehu Mokim Shenishava Al Yudei HaTzimtzum. As a result of Tzimtzum, of Hashem, quote unquote, constricting himself. Whatever that means, a space is created. And in that space, everything other than Hashem can exist. Because really there should be nothing other than Hashem. It's only because he, to some extent, and here we come to a paradox, which I'm not going to deal with because I'm not learning Kabbalah, that you've got on the one hand, he's Sovev Kol Almin, he's outside of, and at the same time, Mamali Kol Almin, it's immanence and transcendence, if you want the philosophical.
The biggest
absolutely.
Something outside of you.
It isn't, going to be careful what language we use, but yes, the motivation, absolutely. Yeah. Motivation was absolutely pure chesed, quite right. So, Amalei Hashem, sheyisoichech olav b'chapoi, shehu he'onon sheyechase olav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, will cover him with his palm, which is the onon, the cloud of glory, which he will cover him with. V'yalim mimenu inyan ha'avara, eich hoisa ha'avara mina ein soif elo eilamos. If anybody's familiar with the quantum cosmology, to use the term that they use, the singularity the point at which the interface between, so to speak, there being only Bayrei Olam, Ein Sof, whatever word you want to use, and then all of a sudden there is something that, by definition, that process, action, interface is unknowable. And that is what is meant in this chapter in Kisisa, when Hashem puts the Anon over him. You can't see that. That's hidden. That's unknowable. Says the Malbim, he will hide from him inyan ha'havara, the transferring, eichois ha'havara min ha'ein soif el ha'oilamos, shehim ba'alei tachlis, b'mokoim nikras hatzur. They are finite. That process is v'chein osa sheyered yorad Hashem ba'onan va'onan nisyatzi v'moisham b'nikras hatzur shehu ha'ma'ora she'amad by Moshe. There was the onan, he was covered with the onan v'yodua. And this is apropos of what we learned yesterday from two other sources. Yodua she'ha'ein soif lo nirmaz b'shum shem afilu b'kutzei shel yod. Ein soif cannot be referred to, not even in the kutzei shel yod. What do we mean by the kutzei shel yod? It's keser, because in the yud kei vav kei you have kutzei shel yod, which is keser. The yud is chochma, the hey is bina, the vav is das, the vav ktzavis, the chagat nehi, and then the final hey is malchus. Okay, v'oid shehischil b'havoyas ha'ilamos lo kora b'shem ki kol ha'shemos v'ha'kinuyim. All names or kinuyim that we can use about the Rebbeinu Shalom heim achar hatzimtzum, v'achar ha'avora, she'avar kvoidai, and therefore only after he went, v'ro'isas achoirai, then he could look back and see, so to speak. And then he says a brilliant thing. V'lochein achar ha'avora on the other page, she'avar min ha'in sefer ha'atzilus v'hagvul v'hamido hischil b'kriyas. Then names start. V'zeh shekosav v'yikra b'shem Hashem. You ever notice when certainly when I'm Bal Tefillah, but when we say the Yud Gimel Midos, there's a psik, there's a Vayikra b'Shem Hashem. V'zeshkas Vayikra b'Shem Hashem hatipcha nokud al milas b'Shem meyed sheperushai. Who's Vayikra? Who's Vayikra? Hashem is Yikra. He called b'Shem. Ki rotza l'sader l'fonav Hashemos shebahem nishavu ha'ilamos. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called them. That he would reveal to him Sod HaIlamos, which is the Kiyum HaIlamos. That's just to finish off what we saw yesterday. Okay? Now we move on to a beautiful, and you have to follow with me. You asked me, if I'm not mistaken, at the end yesterday, Eli, you asked me on the end of source 10, the Rambam that we saw in Moreh Nevuchim. Let's recap, because we're going to need it now for a Meshech Chochmah that I want to learn with you, which is brilliant and challenging Meshech Chochmah, but very, very important, directly relevant to what we saw yesterday. We saw yesterday, source 10, we saw the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim explained that, and here we have to be quite careful in explaining what he said. But we saw that what he said was that when the Gemara says in the end of Makkos that Anochi Lo'yeh we heard from Hashem, as opposed to the others which we heard via Moshe, he says that they came to us in the same way they came to Moshe. What does that mean? Because these two, he says, can be achieved through intellectual contemplation, unlike the others, right? Let's do it again. Let's do the last few lines in source 10 here. Yeah? The ones that I put in bold. What does that mean? They achieved the same insofar as these two are concerned. They achieved the same as Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was not needed to transfer these to them. These two Yesodistic ideas, i.e., that God Hashem exists and that He is one. These can be achieved through intellectual contemplation. And anything that can be observed is the wrong word, worked out intellectually, mishpat hanovi, boy, mishpat kol mi sheyodeu shova. then the status of a Novi who achieves this, or somebody who achieves it through his intellectual, is the same. These two ideas are not known just through the medium of revelation, and therefore the Torah says, but the other dibros were of Ahem Mikat. Oh, here's your point. Last line. Omnam Shara dibros, but the other dibros, Heim Mikat Hamafursamois Vahamakubalois, they come from the perspective of that which is well known and received. Loi Mikat Hamuskolois. They don't come under the category of that which is intuited, that which is worked out. So he is referring to the other 8 dibros. And here you asked me a problem, which I have an answer, and it's related to the lecture that you gave in Dusseldorf. But I don't want to do it now because it would take us totally off topic. Come to me and I can take you through it. I spent some time last night. It bothered me. What was the question? Ellie asked me a great question. I also saw a good quote. Actually, I was reading something else yesterday. I saw a good quote, and I can't remember who it is. Somebody says, "Don't ruin a first-rate question with a second-rate answer." So your question was awesome, and I hope I passed the test. I just said to you, I don't know. I need to think about it, and I did. I actually did think about it last night, and I think I've got a mahalach. But Ellie's question was awesome. What are you telling me? These are not hamuskolos? These don't fit into muskolos? How can that be? Great question. However, and we'll deal with that offline. However, let's get back to Legufo Shel Inyan here. I realized yesterday that I don't think I fully understood the Rambam. Why? Here's my question to you. Let me put you on the spot. What happened? What actually happened at the moment that Klal Yisrael received? What did they receive? This is something that you can work out. You can and you must work it out, according to the Rambam, right? So what actually happened at that moment in time? Did they hear all of those words? Did they hear? Like Moshe did? That's what he seems to suggest. However, I think we will discover that it's possibly not so simple. I have to be very careful here. Let's learn a Meshech Chochmah. And this here, I'm sure you've all learned Meshech Chochmah before, but here you will see some of the genius. There's no other word to describe it. The genius of the Meshech Chochmah. Meshech Chochmah is, so source 11. Al Atar. Here we really need to concentrate. Harambam zal b'sefer mitzvos belois asay de lo yeh lecha mono arba azhoros. There are 4 loisa assays in the Rambam Sefer Mitzvahs. Aleph, Beis, Hey, and Vav. And they are lo yeh lecha, loisa asay lecha pesel, loisa ishtachav alehem, loisa avdeim, respectively. So in that Ma'amar, which they all heard, and they all got received in the same way, same level, it seems, as Moshe Rabbeinu, at a technical halachic level, it encompasses and incorporates 4. So if you add it to the first one, which is Anochi, so there's 5 mitzvahs asay. 1 mitzvah asay and 4 negatives are in these first 2 dibros. A total of 5. Can you see where we're going to go with this? The Ramban is going to ask an incredible question on the Rambam. Ube'emes, ki dvarov muchroim bekama mekomis besugis hashas. It is obvious and evident from many places in Shas that these lavim exist. Don't bow down to Hashem, don't bow down to Avodah Zarah, don't make a pesel, and this is discussed extensively in Avodah Zarah, etc. Ulam, Ramban, on the 4th line, 5th line, 4th. Ulam Ramban Heshiv, the Ramban asks a question. In Cain, if that's the case, Shamu mipi hagvura chomesh mitzvos. How can the Gemara say in Makkos, Torah, zog the Gemara, is Gematria 611, because only 2 Torah tzivalonu Moshe, 611, which is Torah, the Gemara says that. Yeah, 611 tzivalonu Moshe, it's not true, it's 608. because we got 5 from the Rabbeinu Shalom Alein. That's the Ramban's kasha, isn't that gewaldige kasha? Kicked myself. How come I didn't work it? Didn't think of it. It's an awesome kasha. No, what a great question. The Ramban does not need my approval, but I was excited. Ulam Ramban heishik. Im kein shamu mipi agvura chomish mitzvahs umipi Moshe tov reish ches. Ukvabia ruach hachomim. The Gemara zogt sheshamu mipi Moshe Torah. Dahainu tov reish yud aleph. Ushtayim mipi agvura. V'harav kosav ze kama pa'omim ve'einay nizkar. The Rambam quotes this Gemara approvingly in many places, and yet this. You have ein Widerspruch. Yeah, we've got a contradiction almost within the Rambam. The Rambam in Mitzvahs Lo Saseh, Aleph, Beis, Hey, Zat, Vav. You've got 4 Lo Sasehs plus 1 Aseh of Anochi. The Rambam counts them technically. So when we're talking about minyan mitzvahs, you've got 608. And the Rambam also quotes approvingly the Gemara that says Torah is Bigematria 611 because we got 611 from Moshe. That's the Ramban's kasha, gewaldige kasha. Okay, we can leave out the next bit. The kasha's there. Ulam, next paragraph. Chalila lerabbeinu sheyelam mimenu hamamar hashogur bepiv. It would be a travesty. So we say in English. It would be utterly, inappropriate and wrong and a denigration of the Rambam to suggest that the very Gemara that he quotes approvingly in many places, he forgot that somehow. Can't be. Rak. Rabbeinu Ozal l'shitosoi b'seifrei hamoire chelik beis perek lamed gimel. He quotes what we learnt, what we've just learnt. The Rambam is going l'shitosoi. This is in line, in consonance with his own opinion in Moreh Nevuchim. V'biur aruch muchrach mikol shitois rabbeinu ba'al Talmud. Yet it is evident, it is obvious, no, not obvious, it is imperative, you must say, that's the word I'm looking for, that what? The Yisrael shamu rak koil elokim bilvad v'lo protei hadvar. The rest of the Dibros, yes, the Klal Yisrael only heard the voice of Hashem, not the detailed. Uperush anochi v'lo yebepi agvuras shmanum. Hainu mitzad gvuras hamoifes. What does it mean? This is how the Reb Meir Simcha is interpreting this Rambam for us now. What does it actually mean when it says? What does the Rambam mean when he interprets that we directly experienced Anochi Layir? Does that mean that we all heard those words? Look at his language. Says Reb Meir Simcha. Pirush Anochi v'lo yebepi agvuras shemanim hainu mitzad gvuras hamoifes. The strength of the moifes. Moifes doesn't mean normally it means a wonder. It can mean
whatever seems supernatural.
Look, go back. It's the language of the Rambam himself. Go back, source 10, and sort of 4 lines from the end. Omnom yusag be'iyonu anushi. When you have something, whether you achieve it be'iyonu anushi or v'chol ma sheyedea b'moifes, then mishpat hanovi bo mishpat misheyedeu b'shaveh. So these are your 2 options. The Meir Simcha is using the language of the Rambam there in that perek. So he doesn't mean something that you achieved intellectually. It means through revelation. Through revelation. But Moifes.
But Moifes, isn't the Rambam holding that Moifes or Nes is still within the realms of physical?
Not for now. You're I can't.
It's like meaning I observe and I see it.
It's Nevuah. I mean, it's Nevuah. You have to just go through. We're not at the moment going to learn the Rambam's take on Nevuah. Look at the. It will do, yes, but it's Nevuah. When I say Moifes, he's not using the word Moifes necessarily in the supernatural or super rational sense, but it's Nevuah. It's Nevuah, revelation. Let's call it revelation. It's not Seichel Enushi. It was revealed to them. So, for example, Sifri, well, the Mechilta says what happened. HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened the Shiva Rakim. There was absolute clarity. He opened the Shiva Rakim and they saw there's a Beirei Olam. It was revealed to them. It wasn't something they worked out. Cool. Okay, you okay with that? It's a my face. That's what they saw, and that's why very good. Yeah, very good. Let's see. Let's see how he says. So, what does it mean? Rabbi Meir Simcha is explaining the Moreh Nevuchim to us. Upirish. The intensity, the power, the potency of what was revealed to them, which was, yes, it was supernatural. Hashem split open the seven heavens, whatever that means, and they saw without a shadow of a doubt, Hashem hu Elokim einoid milvadoi. That's what they saw. Let's go on. And he says, V'kishnei shoshim elu mitzius Hashem yizbarach v'heyosei echad omnam yusgu b'moifeis be'iyun ha'enushi. And here it gets complicated because he's mixing the languages here. It is true that it can be achieved b'moifeis be'iyun ha'enushi. V'chol mashi yedea b'moifeis mishpat hanovi b'y mishpat mishedeu b'y shofer ein sham. Okay, that's already. Did you see that? Notice that language is a little bit unclear because he seems to be equating the usage of the word moifes with iyun enushi, and I'm a bit perplexed by that. But let's go on. Harei mehera sor meitoi kushes haramban. He says now. Let's see if we can work this out. I missed out the brackets because he's just criticizing another sefer. Doesn't matter. Okay. Harei mehera sor meitoi kushes haramban. And now he's using poetic lyrical language. And now the question of the Ramban has flown away swiftly from us. Right?
I didn't get it.
Well, neither did I. Let's see whether we can work it out together. How? Now here he says something which, again, if I were you, I would be underlining and highlighting this. And this is an opinion of Rabbi Meir Simcha. Ki darkoi nisgova. For his ways are lofty and sublime. He means the ways of the Rambam. Ukvar omarti. Here is something for you to file away in your general knowledge. Ukvar omarti, says Rabbi Meir Simcha, I have said many times, so to speak, Ki divrei Rabbeinu b'chol sfarov b'yad hachazoka b'meiro b'pirush hamishnayos ruach achas bohem. He is of the opinion, the Or Sameach, the Meshech Chochmah is of the opinion that the Rambam in all of his writings is consistent. Fascinating. You should know not everybody agrees, but this is Rabbi Meir Simcha. It's amazing. Now, so how have we? He's so elliptical. It's oblique. How have we got out of the problem of the Ramban's question that it's only 608? Let's go on. Ulam mashakosav Megillas Esther. Dil malay amurak lo yelecha milvad shemuchach medrash is the command shemshnei dibur sheinos oidas Ramban zam neksuvim kufei muchach v'shudav v'nashor mash engem dibur sachroinos. Finished. The Megillas Esther is one of the Mefarshim also tries to get around of it in another way by saying, well, maybe Hashem only said to them lo yelecha. He says no. You see very clearly. So what's his answer? What is his answer? I spent some time on this last night. And I know I'm on camera, but it seems to me, anybody got any ideas? There is Rav Kuperman, who wrote a perush on the Meshech Chochmah. So he says, he quotes the Ephodi. Ephodi, as he is known, is one of the Rishonim who is a Mefarish on the Moreh Nevuchim. And it could be, and one has to be very careful because I want to spend some time on this Meshech Chochmah, but it looks as if what he's saying is as follows. They experienced revelation. It sounds like he's saying they did not hear the words Lois ishtach v'lahem, Lois sa'avdein. That's what it sounds like he's saying. What they appreciated from the intensity of this revelation, this experience, like Moshe Rabbeinu, what did they hear? They perhaps didn't even I have to be careful how I say this. I don't want to get it wrong. But one thing for sure he is saying, they did not hear the words Lois Yishtachave, Lois Sa'avdeim, Lois Aselacha Pesach, because then we're back to square one with the Ramban's question.
Don't we say they heard the sounds?
So that was the Rambam that we learned. That was Kol Dvarim as opposed to Devarim. The other 8, they heard Kol Dvarim. That's what he said. We're now talking about the 2 where it wasn't the Kol Dvarim. That's the problem. So we have to dance our way in between, and he's very bold. I mean, if you look at the tone of the Meshech Chochmah is Sora Maher, it's flown away swiftly. There's no question left. So we have to say something, I think, on these lines. I'll try and clarify it further. You cannot say that they actually heard the Dikduke Diburim, the Chiluke Devarim, Lois Ishtachave, Lois Asalchem Pesach, because then we're back to square one. They didn't hear that. He's understanding the Rambam in Moira to saying that they experienced Gvuras HaMoifes, and they knew and were shown, they were Hor Esa, Lo Da'as, Hashem Hu Elokim, Einoid Milvadoi. That's what they experienced. And it was so powerful, so intense, Nafshi Yotza B'Dabroi, they died, etc. But, of course, the technical utterance of Lois Ishtachve, Lois Asalachem Pesel, Moshe Rabbeinu must have come and told them afterwards. And therefore we heard 6:11 from Hashem. Heard meaning, doesn't even mean necessarily, this may sound very revolutionary, and I hope I'm not becoming an apikoros. I mean, it sounds very much from, if it was just the Moreh Nevuchim itself, even though the Ephodi does learn it this way, but you see l'chura for here from the Meshech Chochmah that they experienced with Hor'esa Lodas, Hashem was Boikei Ad Shiva Rakim, and they knew with a clarity, they were shown there is Rebbeinu Shloim and there is no other. Ein Oid Hor'esa Lodas, and therefore he gets rid of the question of the Ramban. I think that's an incredible Meshech Chochmah, no?
How did the count then go according to this point?
Because then Moshe Rabbeinu came down and said, you know what you experienced?
Yeah.
Which you experienced in that way the same as I did, but I then actually heard words. Yeah. And he came down and told them that, told them to us.
But they hear the first one in and of themselves, that they understood.
They didn't hear...
different levels of hearing.
It sounds like even the Anoichi, or... It doesn't sound like they heard words as such. I have to be very careful because it says dibur. Unless he's starting to use the word dibur in a more in a looser sense, which it can sometimes be yad beramim tachtenu. I'll stop there. I'm just pointing out there is something very, very subtle and deep going on here per the Meshech Chochmah. Let's move on. Kobe, you with us? You look tired again, my friend. You good? Hard life. Let's go. 12. Moreh Nevuchim. Another Moreh Nevuchim, Rabbi Sai, another Moreh Nevuchim. But this is a really, in a way easier, I'm not sure, but listen to this. I'll explain to you why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I'm learning a whole bunch of random Moreh Nevuchim. These, I hope, have to hold myself back from what not to put in, not what to do. This is directly relevant. We are learning the Shittas HaRambam in the first Yesod, which is the mitzvah to know there is a God, right? And we're trying to define the contours and the parameters and the scope and the remit of this within Shittas HaRambam. Notice I haven't given you the Ikrim or the Ramban or the others, because we'll be here forever. I'm not even going there. Can't. Moira, look at this. And here he has something to say also about Christianity, which is quite interesting and not altogether politically correct. It was very interesting.
Can add the evidence.
Yeah? I'm not sure which one you mean. I'm not sure which one you're referring to. You tell me later. Okay. Look at this. He is talking about the mitzvah, our subject, to believe, to know. Actually, this ha'amona means to know. Da atoh ha'ma'ayin b'ma'amorizeh. Says the Rambam. Chelik Aleph Perek Nun. Ki ha'amona, this level of belief, which we've already explained, is leda, right? Eino ha'inyan ha'nemar b'peh, aval ha'inyan ha'metzuyar b'nefesh. When we talk about believing or knowing God, it isn't just something that is lip service, something that you say. It's not a catechism, to use the Christian terminology. It is inyan hamatsuyar benefesh. It is something which is.
From within.
We have to be careful how we do this. This is das. This is how we get to das, because chokhmah is data, raw data.
I heard somewhere that the concepts which are grasped by that are things which, if they would be disproven, you would stop to exist. So there's like they are not like there's like I know that I exist.
Right. Correct.
Huh? Не понял.
Не понял.
Yeah. So chokhmah is raw data, objective, external. Bina is deeper. It is.
Not from one thing to another.
Yeah, that's one. That's one. Yeah, that's two. That's why it's a lotion of boine, to build on what you already know. Bain, it's from in between. Same word. To some extent, yes. To be maven dava mitech. Now, das, Rashi and Kisisa, very interesting lotion. Rashi and Kisisa says das zuruach hakodesh. Now, what is that? He doesn't mean necessarily, because when we talk about Salel va'amala yosei b'chochma b'tvuna b'das b'chol malacha, there's a very important Rashi. You need to know that Rashi. Chochma is to know data. Bina is to be maven dava mitech dava. Das is Rashi zuruach hakodesh. But that word das, and we're not going to give a whole share on what das means, means intimacy. It means connection. It is to experience something at a visceral, a deep level, and connect to it totally. Okay. Okay. Ay. The dabe mabe. Okay, weiter. So this is something. Now here we're going to come to a really, really important point. Let's try and get through this one. So again, this emunah, this ha'amana, this das is eina ha'inyan hanemar b'peh. The other way around, it actually starts. It's inyan ha'matsuyar b'nefesh. It is something that is known at the deepest possible level inside your nefesh. K'sheya'aminu boy shehu kain k'moy sheyitzuyar. When you are utterly convinced that it is indeed as you, I don't want to use the word feel, but as you are utterly convinced that it is, when you are then able to equate with absolute certainty that which you already know inside of you. You're able to not authenticate, validate. That's the word I'm looking for. When you're able to validate that which you already know with certainty inside you, that is emunah. He'll go on to explain. And if you are doubtful, if it is enough for you, if it is sufficient for you, if it is enough for you that when you take these concepts and ideas that are so deeply and in existentially connected to your to what you know at the deepest level, but then when you actually speak them out, you articulate them, if you then do so superficially, that's an easy thing to do. Any idiot can do that. Any idiot can say something without it being connected to and being the second part of the process of validating that which I already know very deeply within inside me. As he will say, many idiots, yishmaru emunos, they will believe things, which they cannot possibly conceive of in any way. They will believe things that make no sense. But should you be therefore motivated to complete your emunah and take it up midarga so'ian, and if you want to go the extra mile as you should, to understand as much as is possible, it should be emes. Back to the word emes, if you remember from the Rambam, it should be a proper emes, that he is after one and true unity. And he has He is not made up of different parts. There's no concept of chiluk, fragmentation or parts or segmentation. Then you also need to know and here we're getting to interesting different territory. I'll mention it just by the way because we're not going to spend much time on it, and that is the Rambam is of the opinion, it's what's known sometimes as negative theology, that you cannot attribute to Hashem any positive attribute at all, because then you end up with what he calls is a nonsense. You have an attribute and you have him, and then what do you say? Well, he and his attributes are one and the same. Says that's just nonsense. You're saying words. No. No, also not. Hashem has no inherent attributes. In the same way that he cannot be physical. He also cannot have any inherent attributes. It is true, verily. Somebody who believes, listen to this, he's now about to insult people. He says, anybody who believes that Hashem is one and yet has a multiplicity of inherent attributes, so he said he's one in his words, but in his machshava he's believing many, multiplicity. And this is exactly like the Noitzrim say, hu echad, aval hu shleisha, v'hashleisha echad. And I will not translate that. Okay, that's the same shtuyot, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So you are saying, says the Rambam, that I'm saying he's one, and I believe actually he's totally one, but at the same time he has a multiplicity of inherently of a multiplicity of personal innate attributes which are amazing. Rachum, Chanun, garbage. Says the Rambam. Let's go on a little bit. This is very, very delicate, and my point in reading this was not for this bit. It's actually for the next bit, which is underlined, but it's in the Perek. I couldn't bypass it. It's important. So therefore, he says, so somebody who says, Kain Mamar Ha'imer Hu Echad, Avlu Bal Tarim Rabbim. V'hu v'tara v'echad. Somebody says that's how he gets around the problem, saying he is one with his attributes. So this is just word salad. It's what we call a word salad. Have you heard that phrase? Yeah, you're saying words. Never mind. There was a certain presidential candidate in the USA recently who absolutely excelled in it. Said lots and lots of things. I mean, just beautiful word salads. Im histalik hagashmias v'ha'amonas hapshitas hagmura ki'ilu kavanaseinu v'chipuseinu eich neymar loi eich namin. Now, this is the bit which is, I deliberately underlined it here. Ve'ein emuno elo achar hatziyur. Here we have process and sequence in the Rambam. First comes the tziyur in the nefesh. He started off with this, remember? You have the tziyur in the nefesh, an absolute, utter conviction, which is internal, which cannot even be possibly necessarily philosophical proven, although in this case, to some extent, it can be, as we saw. But don't get the order wrong. The emunah comes after the tziyur. This is the rationalist Rambam. Hello? The so-called, yeah? First comes the tziyur b'nefesh. And then comes the ha'amana. Ki ha'emuna hi ha'amana b'ma sheyitzuyar shehu chutz la'seichel. Kafi ma sheyitzuyar b'seichel. Inherently, it is that which is michutz la'seichel. Like you said, das is... There is a lot of talk in real deep philosophy about the impossibility of even proving potentially that you actually exist. The vat in a jar, maybe we're all just a brain, maybe we've already got artificial intelligence to the point that, like the Matrix, maybe we are all in the Matrix now. We don't know, maybe we've already developed that and we're all just pickles of a jars. We are brains sitting, no, forget Schrödinger, it doesn't need to come into it. No, that's something else. Sorry?
So like a brain in a...
Brain in a jar. It goes back a long time. It goes...
No,
not Schrödinger. It's the others, and it's going back. It doesn't matter. Brain in a jar. Maybe we are.
Maybe.
Yeah, the Matrix type of scenario. Maybe we are, and this is something philosophers. Do you think this is true? it would make, I don't know, never mind, I won't comment. We somehow intuitively feel, and that's not so. Can you prove it? Can't really prove it, it seems. You can't really prove it. And yet, yeah, that's one argument. Red pill, blue pill. Okay, we're not going to go there. But you, this is, let's be serious for a minute. This is what he's saying. Now, we, of course, believe it also in a spiritual component, and that's why it becomes, it's late. So it becomes relevant. So, this is an incredible Rambam, where he's, again, directly relevant, to summarize to what we've been learning today, because this is the Rambam's understanding. Number one, no room for doubt in the Rambam's categorization of the mitzvah of emunah, or emunah. We've got the mitzvah bit. It's 100%. There's no room for doubt. It is utter and it's innate. It's something that you know, and then you endeavor to base it to the extent that is possible, which it is. If you get to the point where it is inconceivable that this should not be so, and you don't find a way in the seichel to push away that, nor to imagine its opposite, then it's true. We'll have to leave it here for today.